poured it straight in to maximize the coordination. Citrus.
You're not supposed to tell me. You're just supposed to write it down.
Yeah, but we're on video. Like, audio helps.
You're not on camera. There you go. Straw, slightly hazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting a lot of aroma.
A little bit of citrus, a little bit of tropical.
Yeah, it's not crazy aromatic. It
What?
smells nice, but it's very mild. Hops. No malt, nothing else. She says citrus and tropical. I'm going with that. Nicely bitter.
Yep, it's balanced.
It's pretty
A
well
little bit
balanced.
sweet, a little bit bitter.
Yeah, a little bit malty, fruity.
Little tiny bit malty.
Tastes good.
Yep.
What do you give it? It's beer. Give it a 50.
At least a 45. It's a good commercial example of the style.
What are we doing, you may ask? We are judging beer. Why?
Because we spent last weekend judging beer.
Judging beer for real. First time. You may remember from previous videos, we became judges in January. Passed the exam.
Passed the tasting exam in January, passed the written exam in December, got our results in July.
Right. Then we got invited to judge in South Carolina, not outside of Columbia.
Yep.
Do you remember the name of the club?
Palmetto State Brewers Open.
Palmetto State Brewers Open.
Yep.
And this was homebrewers.
Homebrewers.
They had, over 300 entries?
300 entries.
Mm-hmm. And we
in
were
30 categories.
Yeah, we were invited to judge. It was kind of fun. Worked out because we were kind of going to be in that part of the country anyway. So we went. They could not have been nicer. Janie, Travis, Kevin,
Wendy,
and Harry,
Kevin,
and Brad.
And Brad. Brad was the head judge.
Way more organizers than that, but they're the ones that kind of
really interacted
greeted
with
us, and we got to pick their brains about how a competition works. I was about to say, it was hard. It really was.
It was work.
Yeah, it's work. And although they do feed you, which is nice.
Yep.
No
that
free.
Was cool.
No free lunch because it's really work. And then people are like, "Oh yeah, right. You drank beer all day." True. We didn't drink beer all day. We tasted beer all day.
We used this all day.
Yep.
This was our criteria.
That is the official BJCP beer score sheet. And that's really what the training's all about. Everybody's supposed to be on the same page of music, kind of literally. You're using the same sheet, the same format.
Same criteria.
Same criteria. You try to be within a few points of one another. So there's a lot of discussion and negotiation.
Because there's multiple judges at every category.
Right.
So you sit down together and you all evaluate the same beers, one after the other, and you try to come up with a score that's almost identical so that you're all kind of experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like being on a jury. Like you have to have this discussion.
There has to be a consensus.
And because the categories are separated only by 1 point. So a 44-point beer is considered excellent. A 45-point beer is considered outstanding. 30 is very good. 29 is just good. 14 is fair. 13 is don't go near this beer. So it's like you really have these kind of back and forth negotiations. And one of my tables, the guys kept saying, "This beer's really good," and I said, "It is really good, but it's not to style. So where are we going to put it?"
This is the style book.
Yeah.
It's very, very big. It's going to fall apart on me soon. But there's very precise criteria of what every beer should taste like. And if you're competing, you want to meet those standards.
And the They are guidelines, however. It's even in the book, in the front of the book, in the introduction. It says these are not the 10 Commandments. So there were 3 judges on the one table. So we kind of had to come to a consensus.
The 10 Commandments fit on 2 tablets.
Yeah.
This is like 120 pages.
It's true. It's big. And there's more on the website because they release provisional styles as the beer world evolves. And the book only gets updated every couple of years. But 3 judges at my table, including myself, and it was like, well, we had to. I said, well, I don't think this beer is in style. I agree it's good, but I would mark it way down because it wasn't in style. And the other guys were like, but it's really good. I'm like, yeah, it is. So we had to I had to come up, they had to come down, and we ended up. But that's kind of the experience. It's very interesting. What else? Impressions.
I was with judges that, for the most part, were much more experienced than me. So I learned a lot from them. They would detect an off aroma or an off flavor that, because I haven't smelled those things, I might not pick up. So they were wonderful about saying, oh, this is what oxidized smells like, this is what diacetyl smells like, or tastes like, or feels like.
Feels like, yeah.
And I learned so much from the judges that worked with me.
So it was really quite interesting, and at times it was really boring. You hurry up and wait. It's like it's making a movie.
There
just
was
sit around
20
and
tables.
Yeah.
I mean, so you had to wait till we did a session on Friday evening, a session on Saturday morning, a session on Saturday afternoon, and of those 30 categories, at the end of the second day, there had to be a best of show. So all of those winners in each of those categories had to face off against each other, and a panel of 5 experienced judges sat down with 30 little sips of beer and had to come to a consensus of which beer of all those was the best.
And I'm really happy I was not one of those judges.
And that took a long time.
Because that would have been really hard. But yeah, the more experienced judges were great. They really helped us. And the first thing we said was, hey, we've never done this before. It was our first exposure. Most people will steward a competition before becoming a judge. And that's like the guy that runs and gets the bottles, and the guy or girl that runs and gets the bottles. Keep things organized.
Double checks everybody's math.
Yeah, double checks your math, keeps all the paperwork in order. We didn't even do that because we had no idea. We've entered contests, but we never saw what was going on in the back room. Until now, it was fun to see.
But they asked us to be judges, so that's what we did.
You didn't tell them about your stickers.
No, and they gave us stickers. I have enough stickers to probably last the rest of my lifetime.
What she's talking about is at the top of the score sheet, you're supposed to put your name, your judge number, and your email address. And of course, Beth got her little stack of sheets and started filling them out one by one.
Filled them all out by hand, and then they came around
and then
with
they
stickers.
came around with stickers. You don't have to do that. You just pop your sticker in the space and you're ready to go. But I got to use mine. Did you use yours?
I did. I put them on top of my handwritten so that it would be easier for everybody to read.
So I'm not going to remember because I have a terrible memory, but I judged a Czech lager, double bock, Schwarzbier, porter and stout.
Yeah.
And you did some wacky stuff.
I did specialty IPAs. So there were several cold IPAs, a rye IPA, and a black IPA. And then the next morning, I did...
Trappist?
Yeah. Trappist Belgian beers. So there was single, double, triple, Bier de Garde, and strong Belgian, strong Golden Belgian. And then in the afternoon, I had specialty autumn and winter ales.
Seasonal.
So they were seasonals.
Did you get any pumpkins?
I did 3 pumpkins and 3 winter, I think.
Yeah.
All very spiced.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough pumpkin spice in my system to last me at least another couple decades, I think, now.
The tricky one for me was porter and stout because we had 9 beers to evaluate. So basically you're drinking, you're not drinking. I keep saying that because you're sampling.
Tasting.
Yeah,
they pour about an ounce, about 30 milliliters.
You try to drink
as
little as possible because you don't want the alcohol to cloud your judgment.
Accumulate.
But to taste 9 porters and stouts one after the other, it's like this is hard. It requires like discipline.
And concentration.
Because, by number 7, you're like, it's beer. Give it a 40. I would never do that, obviously, but it's like, it's porter, it's stout, give it a 40. You can't do that. Every single entrant deserves his or her beer to be evaluated objectively, and so you have to kind of, it's like every beer you taste, that's the one. You don't care what you had before, and you don't worry about what's coming up.
You drink your water and eat your oyster cracker and move on to the next one like it's the first one.
And it is a great learning experience because we had a couple of problems. In the Czech lager category, we had one that was contaminated, probably with wild yeast. It was not at all sour, but it was really funky. It had that funky barnyard horse blanket, and that does not belong in a Czech lager. That's all about Belgium. In porter and stout, I had one that was so spicy, it was clove, nutmeg, allspice, maybe cinnamon. And I said, okay, one of two things happened. Either the fermentation went completely crazy haywire, and he threw all this, they call them phenolics, that cause those spicy flavors. Or he or she spiced the beer, because people do that, especially with porters, and entered it in the wrong category. I couldn't tell.
It should have been in my category.
And the Grand Master who was at that table, he couldn't tell either. He said, it's definitely wrong. It's spicy. It shouldn't be. This is plain porter, plain stout. So that was really interesting. So we don't know what happened there.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. Anyway, it was fun. It was hard. It was well worth it. I would definitely do it again, because I think if I did it a second time, I would be more prepared.
I think I'd like to steward.
Yeah, stewarding would be, it's probably more boring, if lack of a better word, less exciting, because you're just watching the judges drink beer and write and eat. But it is a lot less work. Quite a few of the stewards are like, I'll never do that. Too much writing, too much work. You guys are crazy. You're doing too much work, and it was. But anyway, it was fun. We did it. Now it's like, I feel like the process was almost, it all came to fruition. Now we've actually done it, so we were judges as of July, but now I feel like we really are judges. So.
And it was a valuable learning experience.
Here come the judge. Is that it?
Yep. Now we can just drink this for fun.
I like that idea. Drinking for fun. Cheers.
Cheers.